Serious. Girls who have been guilted into going out with a nice guy? How did it go? The date wasn't too bad, although he kept changing pretty much every single sentence he said so it would fit my interest. Something like, I like ice cream. Cool, I like frozen yogurt. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Ice cream is nice, but frozen yogurt is amazing. And so on for 4 hours straight. At the end, I had no idea what he was actually like. He also kissed me in the most awkward way possible. I guess he thought it was going to be romantic and spontaneous, but it wasn't. Then kissed me again when he walked me to the train station. He hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe and started making weird noises. Kind of like what some people do during heavy pre-sex makeout sessions, except it was a rather quick kiss in a public place. Started texting me before I even got home, and when I didn't answer, got upset. Told him he was nice, but I didn't think we'd work out. Said it's cool, asked if we can stay friends. Silly me, I said yes. We kept talking for about a month, during which he was very friendly, kept checking if I had slept with someone else and making sure I know how much of a sex god he is. You know, I once even made my lesbian friend come super hard. This is also the time I met my current boyfriend and was meeting a bunch of new people at uni, so we'd talk less and less each week. Then one day he asked me out. I said I wasn't sure if he was completely fine with us just being friends, so that wouldn't be appropriate. He went on this massive rant about how he'd actually been seeing someone else in that time, but they broke up shortly before that. How he's so over me and didn't even think that I'm that hot anymore, and how nothing would happen. I said no because I was broke and couldn't fully enjoy myself while worrying about not spending too much. We were supposed to go to a Metallica concert. Apparently his best friend had spent $120 on his ticket, but then last minute found something better to do. But he promised he'd take care of everything and we could chill at his place with pizza and some films as friends. I said I could consider the concert, but there's no way I'd stay over. I mentioned texting someone else to see if they would be fine with me sleeping over at theirs afterwards. He jokingly asked if it's someone I'm sleeping with, and I said it's none of his business. Then he told me how much of a bitch I was for sleeping with other people and not sleeping with him. Said it's so unfair that he knew me so much better, but he felt like other people had more rights to me than him, and that we kissed and he didn't expect me to be this slutty. By the way, I did not want to kiss him. It was just so random. I felt him making out with me before I even realized what his intentions were and stopped it rather quickly. Then he called me a few more names, said he's such a nice guy and didn't deserve to be treated like that, and we never spoke again. Fun times. Wasn't really a date. I was at a hiking trip with my sister and other people from our village when we met a group of guys drinking and having fun. Was on German Father's Day, so it wasn't an unusual sight. For some reason, my sister got into a talk with the guys and somehow got me and her invited for the party at one of the guys' house later. No big deal, we brought her boyfriend with us and were expecting some good time. My boyfriend was on a biking trip with his dad, so he couldn't come. We arrive and nobody else is there. Guy says they will all arrive later and we are early, 30 minutes after the time he told us to be there. And we start drinking, having fun and everything. He clearly has a thing for me, invites me to go on festivals with him. Sister's boyfriend tells me I would be stupid if I say no and he would totally be going. The others arrive and at some point the homeowner asks me to go out for a walk. He needs some air. We walk for a bit and suddenly he turns around telling me I am the love of his life, the girl meant for him, most beautiful, smart, etc. he's ever seen. I was shocked and didn't know what to say except, I have a boyfriend, you know. He said he didn't care. We're clearly soulmates, and then just kisses me out of nowhere. Tells me he would break up with his girlfriend for me. He never mentioned her before, and I should do the same. Luckily, my sister blacked out on the toilet and someone shouted at him for help unlocking the door, so we went back up. I took care of my sister, his girlfriend arrived, he pulled me aside and told me he would do it now, right here. I said no, and he told me to take my sister and leave. What I did then. He messaged me on Facebook the next day that I was a whore and I led him on, and he almost broke up with his future wife for a bitch like me. TLDR, met a guy, got invited into his house, he wanted me to break up with my boyfriend, he wanted to break up with his girlfriend, kissed me, called me a soulmate, and then a whore when I said no. All within 24 hours. Since a lot of you asked, why would you let a stranger kiss you, or if I told my then boyfriend about it, we did not make out and I did not kiss him back. He smooched my lips after he approached me in the middle of a sentence at high speed and let go of me seconds later before I could even process what had happened. I can take care of myself and would have given him a good kicking, but I honestly was worried about my sister, even though I used the word luckily. At least I could make you laugh about that. I was a college freshman. First week of school, I was in my dorm hangout area going through the calendar on my phone to add exams to my schedule. I didn't realize that nice guy was looking over my shoulder as I was doing so. He goes, "I see you don't have plans on Saturday. We're going to breakfast." I continually objected and said I just hadn't gotten around to adding anything to it yet. He wouldn't leave me alone about it all week, so eventually I agreed to go on Saturday. I was purposely on my worst behavior in an attempt to repulse him because clearly my opinion didn't matter otherwise. He ended the date by calling his mom, telling her that he met his future bride, that we were going to give her grandchildren. He handed the phone to me, so I straight up told his mother that I had no interest and was only there because he wouldn't leave me be, and apparently acting like a barnyard animal wasn't enough of a turnoff. Mom laughed and said, "Sounds like my boy." He would sit on the couch outside my dorm door to bombard me whenever I tried to go anywhere, followed me to and from classes for 2 months, and tried to befriend my roommate to get closer to me before moving on to a new target. She ended up with a restraining order against him. Edit for clarification. This was not my first interaction with this guy. He lived in my small dorm building where we did multiple getting to know you exercises that week, and was a self-proclaimed nice guy, like the title had in quotes. Most people's first impression of him was that he was nice enough, but a little off. I clearly completely agree that dude was creepy as fuck. I just posted in a hurry and left out some background. Edit. Since nice guy was in quotes in the OP, I thought it was clear that we weren't dealing with actual nice guys. Hence why I thought my story was relevant. If it were asking a story about going on a date with an actual nice person, I don't think it would be an interesting Ask Reddit question. We were friends in high school and most of college. It was one of those things where he was a friend of a friend, but we always went to the same parties, hung together in the same group, and so on. The guys in the group would always say things like, "Ah, man, you and Kyle would be so great together. You should give him a shot." I'd kind of laugh it off because for a majority of the time, I had a boyfriend. Eventually, me and the boyfriend broke up, and about a week later, Kyle asked me out. I wasn't really ready, but I figured it was a first date and everyone had been pressuring me into giving this guy a chance, so I went. The whole evening was awkward. We just ordered a pizza and watched movies, which was what we did in our friend group anyways, but this guy would not stop staring. I felt like I couldn't even eat because I was under a microscope. The evening ended uneventfully, but then there was the aftermath. We kept texting and seeing each other in the friend group, and about a week later, he asked, "When can we have another date?" I told him that maybe I had rushed into things too fast and I just wasn't feeling any connection with him. "I broke up with my girlfriend for you." Yep, dude found out I was single, dumped his girlfriend of 8 months just so he could ask me out to an awkward pizza date in his bedroom. The timely cherry on top is that they got back together, and apparently I'm tearing their marriage apart because she found a bunch of texts from me from 6 years ago, and he admitted that he kept them because he still likes me. I haven't seen him in 4 years. Edit for timeline. We are friends in high school, 10 years ago, and college, 5 to 6 years ago. While we are in college, he asked me out after dumping his girlfriend. Sometime after that, they get back together and are married last year. Last week, a friend informs me that they are on the verge of divorce because she found texts he had saved, screenshots, from our college chats 5 or 6 years ago. All my friends said a guy from our group of friends was very nice, even though I felt like he was creepy. Went out once, thought I'd give it a chance to be nice. Regretted it immediately. He asked me what I thought of being in a relationship with him, and when I said no, I don't want that, because I wasn't very interested and we'd only been friends before this, he said he was disappointed with my answer and expected something more worthy of him. He said that saying no was disrespectful. Big yikes. We met once after that because he surprise visited me a few months later. He asked me to ruffle through my hair because he wanted to feel my scalp, treated me like a dog, and wanted me to sit next to him so he'd be closer to me. He also thought it was a great idea to mention he sometimes hears voices in his head and has dreamt of killing people. I rushed him out of my apartment onto the street. I just wanted him to be gone. I checked my keys 5 times to see whether he took any. I've had to see him a couple of times since then, and he is the most creepy, socially inept person I've ever met. He's so aggressive and impulsive. I am truly afraid he will rape or kill someone someday, and I'm still afraid that that person could be me. Yes, he is still in my circle of friends. For some reason, my guy friends laughed it off and don't see him as much of a threat to anyone, let alone me. I avoid him as much as I can and never see him in groups of less than 5 people. After a few years of tepid friendship, something was always a bit off about him, but I thought he was such a nice guy and I was just being a judgy bitch, plus he always claimed to be so in love with me. I agreed to a few dates with my friend. On one date, we went out with a whole group of couples to this state park a few hours away, and during the ride home, I dozed off. I woke up to him groping me under my clothes, and when I told him off, he twisted it around like I was being ridiculous and imagined his hand under my bra. Like, we're on a date, why was I being so weird, etc., etc., etc. When I told him I had to cancel our 4th date because I'd gotten grounded after accidentally setting the kitchen on fire, he punched me, mostly in the face. Punched me. He spent the rest of high school periodically stalking me and my sisters, ranting and raving to literally everyone about how I just didn't understand, and he loves me. He's just so emotional with his true love for me that sometimes he acts without thinking. He's not like those other guys that would make sexual comments about my appearance. Why did I have to be such a Stacy? He's the best friend I've ever had until I ruined it all by willfully misunderstanding and refusing to hear him out or give him closure, on and on. What a nice guy. Guess he tried to break into my bedroom window out of love and concern, huh? Throwaway account for this, as don't want my story tracing back to me. I met him through online dating, and after a couple of weeks of chatting online, decided to cool things off as he was giving off a creepy, needy vibe that frightened me. He would ask about ex-boyfriends frequently and tell me that he would be good for me, ask sexual questions without any encouragement, and want to know intimate details. I forgot all about him until he sent me a random message months later and apologized for his previous behavior, which he blamed on a tricky breakup. Time passed and he seemed a new person, so I gave in and met with him. Our first couple of dates seemed fine, with just a few odd comments that I should have paid attention to. Then he started questioning where I was and who I was with, but again, I just foolishly ignored this. The first time, and last time I stayed at his, we went out for a drink beforehand and he was judging me for having a couple of beers. When we got back to his, I wasn't feeling up to anything sexual, so told him firmly no and went to sleep. Later that night, I woke up to him on top of me. I never confronted him about this. I just pretended I hadn't woke up and made my excuses the next day before blocking him from my life. I've never told anyone this before. I just wish I'd listened to my previous instinct and kept well away. I was that girl who loved the bad boys. My nice guy had been my best friend for a number of years, and I always knew he liked me, but I was busy chasing assholes. 9 years we were best friends and grew up together, and he watched me pick all the wrong people and get hurt. Other friends kept telling me to give it a chance, etc. 2 years ago, he asked me to come over for dinner. It seemed fairly casual until I realized he'd asked me for Valentine's Day. I can't say I was guilted as such, but it still felt a little awkward. I was mega nervous thinking it was going to be so awkward, but when I turned up, it was fine. He cooked me a meal, bought flowers, a bottle of wine, and chocolates, and lit candles on the table. I don't drink much, so he ended up going through the whole bottle of wine because he was so nervous, but it was a lovely evening and things felt very natural, so I decided to give it a go. We're now headed towards our second anniversary, have a lovely home together, a beautiful, but evil, Egyptian Mao cat, and couldn't be happier. Because we were friends first, we know we get on, we finish each other's sentences, and never run out of conversation. Yet to have one argument that goes beyond whose turn it is to wash up, he is genuinely the best thing to happen to me ever. Sometimes the nice guy does win. Well, I might not be a girl, but I was the nice guy in my first relationship. I was meeting a girl which I knew from a friend's girlfriend. Well, at first, everything was nice and we weren't having anything serious, just meeting like friends, playing paintball and billiard and so on. However, I really liked her, and she did recently break up, and I tried to cheer her always up. So then I asked her politely if she would consider trying a relationship, and to my surprise, she said yes. I was the happiest guy on earth this day. So we started dating seriously, going to cinema and doing stuff alone. But I don't know why, however, I really got clingy. Like, I wanted to see her all the time, I wanted her to come over to me, and it ended up creeping her, which in hindsight I really understand, and she got continually creeped out until she broke up, and I was devastated. I didn't force her to anything, but I was, as I said, clingy. After that, I was depressed for over a year and then got my shit together. However, I am sorry that she had to experience me like that, and I also apologized for that, and now we are just normal friends. Not as good as before, but, well. But all in all, it ended up good for me since, because of that, I ended up with my current girlfriend, and without seeing my failures from past, I wouldn't be able to hold this relationship. I'm a guy and gave a nice girl a chance. She was one of those, I'm not like other girls. We went out for a casual pizza and beer dinner. This was in college around 12 to 15 years ago. She kept repeating what we would now call memes, like, OMG, pizza is lifestyle choice. Awkwardly charming the first time, but not funny and annoying the 10th time. She talked about herself the entire time. Most of it was humble bragging about her faults, like, it's just that I care too much about my friends, and I guess I'm just the type of person that's 100% honest and can't accept dishonesty in others. I could have left for 10 minutes and it wouldn't have interrupted her conversation. It was like watching a one-person episode of The Gilmore Girls. Afterwards, we left separately and we didn't kiss or anything. The next day, over MSN Messenger, she asked when our next date was, and I politely said I didn't think we had a connection. She messaged me for about 2 weeks after that, with increasingly desperate things. It started with, pick any place and I'll buy, to feeling lonely tonight, wanna come over for some fun, to mutual friend who set us up, and I are talking about threesomes and we need your opinion. A total lie, as I learned from the friend, to a picture of her cleavage. She started dating some other dude and the messages stopped. Guilted into having a 1-year relationship with one. He was super nice at first and I was young and naive. He flirted, seemed nice and honest, so I thought, what the hell, why not give it a go? Big mistake. Realized quite quickly that he just wasn't for me. We had very different political views, very different opinions on things. He was very degrading of me, made fun of my weight, made me think I was fat. I was not at all. Always had a healthy BMI, always have been sporty. But obviously, being my young, teenage, and vulnerable self, that really crushed my self-esteem. So when I finally decided I had the balls to say I don't want to be with you anymore, he guilted me into staying with him, saying, you'll never find a guy who will love you like I love you, or if you leave, I'll kill myself, and all the rest of the typical reasons a nice guy will use to guilt you into staying. In the end, I ghosted him. We were supposed to meet up, but I never showed up. I changed my number, deleted social media for a couple of years, moved out. Never heard from him again, which I am very pleased to say. Not outright guilted, but more found myself in the situation and couldn't back out. Bit weird at first, given the circumstances of me distinctly not wanting to be there, but things gradually got more weirder as the night went on. He made really intense eye contact and told me about how he doesn't smoke or drink, just goes to clubs sober. Also told me how he plans to stay in the country. He was a foreign student, but needs to settle down with someone here first. Then he told me he was really passionate. My dumb ass asked, "Passionate? About what?" And he just stared at me and repeated he was really passionate. It was shit, and I'm more vocal about whether or not I want to be somewhere or do something now. Badly. Seriously, it was the worst relationship of my life. He was the nice guy who was always there for me, etc., until we started dating. Then I saw his mother more than I saw him. When I did see him, he pressured me constantly for sex, and he cheated on me. I think he just built me up in his mind so much that it became more about winning me than actually liking me. So once he got me, he had no reason to be so nice anymore. Went on one date, he just kept talking about how horrible most women are and how gross periods were, and vagina in general was also brought up briefly. He was very masochistic and homophobic. Never talked to him again. A couple years later, when I was still in college, a friend bumped into him at a party. Found him in a room blowing another dude.